Hi everybody, my name is Jane and I have decided to start doing a blog to track the progress of my health and kind of lifestyle. For a year now I have been waiting for a diagnosis for whatever it is that I have. The short story is that I went to a gynecological specialist and she thinks it is endometriosis, but I have to go in for further tests because I'm showing signs and symptoms, obviously, of polycystic ovarian syndrome. I've got, I think, 24 cysts on my left ovary, 27 on my right, and I'm still having my period. Very disjointed periods, I guess you could say, but still having them nonetheless, which is confusing for my doctors because polycystic ovarian syndrome is usually cysts on your ovaries accompanied with no period, or very, very little. And then there's polycystic ovaries, which is when you have very little cysts on your ovaries, like maybe a couple. Obviously, I don't have a couple, I've got quite a lot, which rules me out for polycystic ovaries, but then again, people with polycystic ovaries do have their period as well as having the cysts on the ovaries, so it's kind of like a mix between the two. I've been in a lot of pain and have almost every symptom of endometriosis, so I'm going in for tests in a week now. Yeah, so it's been over a year since I have yet to be diagnosed. The long story is that about over a year ago, my periods were going all over the place. I thought I was pregnant half the time because, I was getting my period once every 52 days and then I was getting it a week later and it was just awful. And then I get my periods for a few days and then it would stop and then it would carry on, and it's still like that. It's got a bit better. I'm on the birth control pill for the third time, different pill obviously to the previous two. So I'm hoping third time lucky, but yeah, who knows. And also other things were happening to me, like I gained a lot of weight. I've always been one of those people that, could eat whatever they want and never gain any weight. And then suddenly I went from the weight I've been since I was literally about 12 to not only gaining 1 or 2 kilos, but gaining 20. So I'm at a pretty low point right now with self-esteem, and I've never had that in my life. My skin went horrible again, like it was actually worse than it was even when I was a teenager. It stopped and then, whammo, I had really bad skin. I don't know if you can tell, but I've got some makeup on so it doesn't look too shocking right now. So yeah, and as I said previously, I've been on the pill 3 times. The first one I went on was Loet, which gave me horrendous migraines and I just felt so sick from it, so I stopped it immediately. Then at the end of last year, beginning of this year, I was prescribed to go on Yaz to kind of, not as birth control per se, but as a means of evening out my period. And that was a whole new set of problems for me. I took it for exactly the month, just one sheet of tablets, and my period did not, I had my period, I wasn't due to have my period when I started taking the pills, but as soon as I started taking them, I started bleeding again. I bled for over a month straight. As you can imagine, it was pretty close to hell. One morning I just could not even get out of bed, and I was that weak from losing that much blood. And my doctor, I was overseas at the time, and I was in Africa, so my family lives there, deepest, darkest Africa, so I didn't really have access to a doctor, but I pretty much could not get out of bed. My boyfriend had to lift me up and, dress me because I was just like a rag doll. Thank God my mum had iron tablets, like really strong iron tablets on her, which helped a lot. When I talked to my doctor overseas, she classified that as me hemorrhaging from taking Yaz. It was too low a dose for me. I stopped Yaz obviously after that incident, and I did not stop bleeding. I went to a holistic healer. I'm not typically into that kind of stuff. I am very kind of pro kinesiology and chiropractics and homeopathic medicine, but holistic healer was kind of verging on the ridiculous for me, but she was incredible. And she stopped my period right away. I didn't bleed for a month, and then when I had my period about a month later, I started bleeding again for a month, and by that time I was back in Australia. The symptoms just got worse. This is after a month or two of not taking Yaz, still getting ramifications from it. I bled every time I had sex, and sometimes not even when I was having sex. Very, very painful intercourse as well. I lost a lot of blood, and this is the point that my doctor was like, okay, we need to send you to a specialist. I should mention also, prior to this, I was prescribed on Yaz. My doctor was like, okay, let's get you in for an ultrasound, because I was going, there's something wrong with me, and I know there's something wrong with me. And she was kind of like, okay, yeah. And I was like, no. And so she finally, after about 8 months, sent me to have an ultrasound where all the little cysts on my ovaries showed up. And she was like, oh, okay, there is something wrong with you. And I was like, yeah, I've kind of been telling you for 8 months. And with all the bleeding that followed that, she was like, this isn't normal. This is kind of verging on endometriosis and not polycystic ovarian syndrome, so you need to see a specialist. So I went to a gynecologist about a week or two ago, and she looked at my whole history, ultrasound, scans, blood test to test for diabetes, which thank God I don't have. So yes, next week I have to go back to gynecologist, which is quite scary for me. I'm one of those people that faint at the sight of blood. And not that there'll be blood, but I'm very queasy around all medical things. So not really enjoying this whole process, but I just want to know what's wrong with me. It's been a year and I just want to be able to call it something, if I have PCOS or endometriosis or both or what. I just want to know. My doctor's been worried about my fertility, and at 22 that isn't something you want to worry about, especially since that's all, kids is my main goal in life. I would put kids over a career, and the thought of possibly not being able to have kids is freaking me out a little. Yeah, I guess I'll post an update to you guys next week with the results of my tests, and hopefully everything will be okay. Also, in my research, I've come across 2 YouTubers in particular that I found very helpful to watch for endometriosis, PCOS, and trying to conceive. The one is, she's an American lady, and her name is Sarah, if I'm not mistaken. And her YouTube name, I'll post down here, is Penguin versus Minja. I hope I said that right. And she seems like a very informed and very passionate girl about endometriosis and all those kind of issues. And she's very positive about her condition. She's very inspirational, so definitely recommend you check her out. And the other girl is an Australian girl like me, and her name's Katie, and her username is xpalescales. Once again, hope I said that right. I'll post it down here if you guys want a link. Hers is a lot more to do with endo-PCOS, kind of her issues with fertility, and she just got pregnant, so yay, congrats. Everyone wants to see their BFP, so really happy for you, considering that doctors were saying that you weren't going to get pregnant. I think it's just incredible. Anyway, hopefully I'll have some kind of happier news along those lines soon, so thanks for watching if you did watch. Okay, see ya.